Whether it's a background gag, a nod to another movie, or a meta reference, movie secrets are often overlooked, since little attention is drawn to them in the frame. And sometimes, well, those little secrets end up being pretty darn scary. I'm Ewan, you're watching What Culture, and here are 10 terrifying secrets hidden in famous movies. Number 10. Not playing with chips. Django Unchained. Time and time again, Quentin Tarantino has shown a real flair for depicting violence. As a result, it's no surprise the esteemed director's slave revenge story, Django Unchained, doesn't shy away from the darkest aspects of its subject matter. The Oscar-winning Western depicts hangings, torture, attempted castrations, and an absurd amount of bloodshed. Having said that, there's one particularly sickening moment that's actually easy to miss. Just before our silver-tongued hero blows away the trackers during the third act, they're sitting at the table while playing a round of poker. On closer inspection, it's clear the trackers aren't playing with poker chips, but human ears. More specifically, they're playing with the severed ears of slaves. Yeah, as disturbing as this sounds, it gets worse. While rewatching the movie, slaves without ears can be seen at Calvin Candy's estate. Number 9. Pennywise is everywhere. It's Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. In Andy Muschietti's two-part Stephen King adaptation, a group of children from Derry, Maine find themselves being hunted by a fear-eating entity called Pennywise. Though the dancing clown can theoretically devour these kids whenever he wants, he prefers to draw out their torment as long as possible, knowing they'll taste far better when they're full of fear. Like the very best evil creepy clowns, this interdimensional entity tends to loom over his prey, without them even realizing that he's there. However, they're not the only ones who didn't notice the clown demon antagonist skulking in the background. Throughout both films, Pennywise appears in murals, paintings, old photos, posters, and funeral flyers. Since Pennywise is a shapeshifter, he can lurk around children in a different form, making it even trickier for them to notice him. When Ben is researching in the librarian is leering at him from behind, proving that she is in this moment Pennywise. But since the librarian is out of focus in this shot, it's an easy detail to overlook. Pennywise is a genuinely haunting figure, but knowing the circus demon was constantly watching his victims throughout both films makes him all the more frightening. Number 8. Faces in the Crowd. Black Swan. Darren Aronofsky's psychological thriller Black Swan follows an unstable ballerina called Nina, played by Natalie Portman, who's overjoyed after being cast as the lead in a production of Swan Lake. Hey, good for her. Striving for perfection, Nina pushes herself to her breaking point, which is not good for her, causing her to lose touch with reality. As Nina begins to hallucinate, she sees feathers growing from her back, her reflection moving on its own, and pictures screaming at her. However, the strangest hallucination in Black Swan is hard to catch, at least on a conscious level. When her dance colleague Lily, played by Mila Kunis, invites Nina out for drinks, she agrees, hoping to blow off some steam. While on the dance floor though, images of Nina, Lily, her teacher, and elements from the production momentarily appear, foreshadowing the lead character's inevitable decline. Just to make this 45-second shot even creepier, many of these images are warped or melded together, giving them a real uncanny valley vibe. At regular speed, it's nearly impossible to pick up on this subliminal messaging, but by pausing, the distorted figures and demonic bases should be clear as day to any viewer. Number 7. Picture Change. Poltergeist. 1980s classic Poltergeist has oodles of nightmare-inducing imagery, including the face-melting sequence, the child eating tree, and the shudder-inducing jump scare with the clown doll. Long arms in horror movies? Terrifying. Hate them. No thank you. Ugh. But another of the creepiest moments in Tobe Hooper's supernatural horror has nothing to do with creepily long arms at all, surprisingly. After the ghosts appear to vacate the house, the Freeling family presume that the worst has passed. Little do they know, the enraged apparitions are far from finished. While Diane, played by Jo Beth Williams, blow-dries her hair in a bedroom, she's suddenly and viciously attacked by an unseen force. But that's not the only paranormal factor occurring in this scene. Right before Diane is assaulted, 3 framed photos are visible on the dresser, one of which is of her daughter Carol Ann, played by Heather O'Rourke. When the dark presence makes itself known, the photo of Carol Ann is replaced with a picture of a sinister face. Even though it's a spine-tingling image, it's actually pretty hard to notice, especially while Diane is screaming hysterically and flailing around on the other side of the room. Now, this photograph isn't as full-blown scary as some of the other sequences from Poltergeist, but it's still pretty darn freaky. Number 6. The dead crew appear for a split second. Sunshine. In Danny Boyle's sci-fi horror Sunshine, the crew of the Icarus II spaceship are tasked with reigniting the dying sun with a fission bomb. Just an average, ordinary day at work right there. As our heroes pass by Mercury, they pick up a stress beacon from the Icarus I, a ship that attempted the same mission 7 years earlier. While the astronauts explore the dilapidated vessel, a flurry of faces flash on screen. It happens so quickly, little time is given to process what has been revealed. Although it's unexplained, these pictures are of the Icarus I team, all laughing and partying while dressed in Hawaiian shirts. We also get a brief shot of Captain Pinbacker, played by Mark Strong, who is later revealed to have sabotaged Icarus I's mainframe, leading to his team's deaths. Soon after, the ensemble discovers the deranged commander is still alive and has snuck onto their ship. After seeing his cheerful face during the blink and you'll miss it sequence, Pinbacker becomes more of a tragic figure than an out-and-out villain, since he was a regular person before all the bad sun-induced terrifying stuff happened. Number 5. In the Corner, Insidious. There's no shortage of nerve-wracking moments in James Wan's Insidious franchise. While watching the original, it's pretty challenging not to have a little bit of a heart attack the first time the red-faced demon rears his ugly mug like an abandoned concept of Darth Maul. Although this is the most shocking moment in the first film, there's another scare that's actually worth mentioning. After Renee Lambert, Rose Byrne, cleans up her home, she goes outside to dispose of the trash. As she turns to face the window, Renee sees a ghost boy inside her house, dancing to the tune Tiptoe Through the Tulips. As potentially unsettling as this scene might be, it's not the first time the child actually appears on camera. In fact, he showed up 30 seconds earlier. While Renee puts her clothes in a laundry basket, the spirit can be seen in the corner, inexplicably just facing the wall. Maybe he liked the shade of paint, I don't know. It's tricky to see the boy here since he doesn't move, the shot is dimly lit, and the camera doesn't focus on him for more than just a second. However, spotting the young Spectre at this point doesn't make his little jig any less creepy. Number 4. The Final Message, Cloverfield. Few films were shrouded in as much secrecy as 2008's Cloverfield. Though it was indicated that Matt Reeves' indie project was a found-footage creature feature, the vague film promotions gave nothing else really away. There was only one way to learn more, and that was, of course, to go see the movie. But by the time the credits rolled, it was apparent that Cloverfield had offered more questions than answers. Not only is the monster barely shown, but it's never explained exactly where it came from. But the secrets didn't stop there. Despite the fact the city-destroying behemoth was seemingly killed during the climax, the end credits suggest otherwise. In the last closing seconds, a voice can be heard, recorded by Reeves himself, uttering the words, "Help us." As ominous as this plea sounds, there's actually another hidden message in the credits. If they are played in reverse, the same person can be heard saying, "It's still alive." Even though the Cloverfield sequels decided not to focus on the monster, the idea that it's still out there is downright creepy. Number 3. Peekaboo, Ju-on the Grudge. In Takashi Shimizu's Ju-on the Grudge, a care worker called Rika is hired to look after a woman in need of care, unaware that her house harbors 2 ghosts, a young woman called Kayako and a boy called Toshio. Although it seems that the spirits only appear a few times, they often lurk in the background during key moments. One of the best examples is during the scene where Rika is moving a dementia-riddled patient called Saito in his wheelchair. While she wheels him around, he repeatedly places his hands over his eyes as if he's playing peekaboo. Since no one is around, it seems like Saito's behavior is due to his condition. But in the next shot, Toshio can be seen in the reflection of a glass door laying with Saito. The door is closed immediately after, so it's tricky to spot the young ghost, despite appearing in broad daylight. Although horror movies like to inject spooky elements into the background, this moment is important since it foreshadows the ending itself. When Rika is cornered by Kayako, she places her hands on her face like Saito. This act allows Rika to glimpse into Kayako's past, allowing her to understand how she became a vengeful spirit. Number 2. Mama Bear's Fate, Shrek. Shrek separated itself from other animated features upon its release by focusing on pop culture references, adult-oriented humor, and risque gags. On top of that, the beloved comedy had no qualms with tossing in some particularly dark jokes, especially the scene with the exploding bird. But Shrek's most depressing moment went over quite a few people's heads. When Lord Farquaad's forces round up the fairy tale creatures, the three bears are locked in a cage. While the animals hide out in the swamp, Papa Bear sits on a log with Baby Bear, trying to cheer him up. At a glance, it looks like the cub is upset that his mother has been taken away. However, the reality is way worse than that. When a later scene cuts to Farquaad's bedroom, a bearskin rug can be seen on the floor for just 1 second. Since this rug has the same pink bow as Mama Bear, there's no mistaking that the two are one and the same. So Baby Bear wasn't just sad, he was actually grieving. It's great how Shrek kind of pushed boundaries, I guess, but man, this is pretty messed up. And number 1, The Final Tattoo, Memento. Christopher Nolan's neo-noir thriller Memento centers around an amnesiac called Leonard, played by Guy Pearce, who's trying to track down the person who murdered his wife. Due to his memory loss, Leonard inks clues onto his body so that he can monitor the progress of his own investigation. He has the tattoos written in reverse so he can read them while looking in the mirror. Leonard leaves the front of his chest blank though, intending to tattoo the killer's name after finally cracking the case. In the end, or the beginning technically, Leonard is horrified to learn that he himself is responsible for killing his wife. Ever since he lost his memory, his friend Teddy, played by Joe Pantoliano, has been framing petty criminals as the murderer, solely to give Leonard purpose. In the final moments of the film, there's a split-second flashback of Leonard embracing his wife in bed. By looking closely though, the space on Leonard's chest has been tattooed with the words, "I've done it." Interestingly, these words aren't inverted like the others, proving that this isn't a memory. Instead, it's a subconscious acknowledgement of Leonard's guilt, knowing the man he's been searching for this whole time is actually himself.